the 18th of July, 2023, and we are approaching show number 200 here on Platos Cave because we started in November of 2021. You can catch the cave on air, online, and on your smart device to grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a great tabletop digital radio. But you know what's awesome? The archives are free.
Don't. Really?
Right. Just get in there, get the archives. Free! What? On the line, all the time, and free. Also, if you can donate, that would be great, because the archives are free, and any donation is good. Money is really good, you know. Naturalis, not so much eggs, cheese, and so forth. You can't really turn into electrons.
Chickens?
But if you can give... they're not going to help me much, thanks. But thanks, buddy. Thanks for thinking of the chickens. Nobody ever thinks of the chickens. But maybe you can't. Maybe you can't donate. That's okay. That's cool. I dig it. You know, it's like I say. I keep saying this, but I will keep saying it until they're not. Things are tough all over. They just are. And so you can't donate, maybe. And maybe what you can do, though, is tell your friends or family or both or strangers, complete strangers. Walk up to them in the street and, you know, just say, hey, listen to Revolution Radio. We like to listen to Dave and Mackie especially because they know stuff.
Shameless plug.
Anyway, if you can do that, that would be great. Right? Now, before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians from the land we broadcast from. Dave?
Oh, and for me, it's the Darkenjung.
Thank you, buddy. And for me, of course, here in... Actually, it was quite sunny in Pemberway. The Daruk people. The Daruk people. And we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Dave, I spent a lot of time on the CIA Freedom of Information release page this week.
Oh, I mean, what did you discover?
A lot. And there was... there's some really funny stuff I was going to share, but I had to shut down the browser. There was one on UFOs and a guy who took photos. That was back in the 70s in Washington. And it was one page only, right? But it was so redacted that he couldn't make heads or tails of it. So that was a funny one. But I found a lot of articles that I can't find anywhere else in there. So there was an article from I want to say 70, or might have been 1990. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, it was about telepathy and the studies that had been done. You'll hear more about it on Sunday. But suffice it to say, approved for release was the stamp on that particular newspaper article or journal article, I should say. And it was just a bit odd, yeah. So there was I mean, and this is the article was what's it called? Let me see. Here we go. Blah blah blah. Okay, telepathy could be real, and it was published November 4th. Sorry, it's 2016. No, sorry, I lied to you. It was published in 1976.
Yes.
1976. It was released in 1998, and then it was reapproved in 2016. So it was released some 22 years after it was written. Now,
that was the 70. When was it? 74, 77?
76.
76. Okay, so that's the era of Uri Geller working in the Montauk experiments.
Yeah, but they didn't talk about him.
No,
at all.
That's right.
In that, but now we'll come to it on Sunday, everybody, or eventually on a Sunday. There was another one, the orbitals of consciousness, a neurosynergic approach to the discrete levels of conscious experience, and that was originally published in 2000, I think. That's not right. And then it was released free information. It was in 2016, and that talks about, believe it or not, that also talks about telepathy, as it were. There's another one.
I'm just. Sorry, wait. There's a theme here, and maybe you searched for telepathy. Did you?
No, I did, yeah, but I did not search for everything. It's actually it's called okay. The address is HTTPS, all the dots and slashes at www.cia.gov. Again another slash reading room, reading room,
okay.
And in there, you're gonna find everything. Well,
some things.
The original documents are there. Some of them are redacted. They also created a printer-friendly version. Bear in mind, though, it's garbage. So there's a lot of cleaning up you have to do if you want to turn it into readable text. You can read the original text as a PDF, and if you wanted to print it or copy it out, then you have to do a bit of editing because it was just it's when you do a really bad PDF translation into a document. That's one of those.
Oh boy.
But essentially, what these papers are saying. Yeah, telepathy is a thing. Yeah, what do you mean? What? Yeah, absolutely. And I go, what? Really? Oh yeah. No, it's really
It's not nonsense. That's right.
We always knew.
No,
and there's a primary quantum model of telepathy as well, which is interesting.
Oh.
And like I said, in some of these, but I can't find these articles that I found on the CIA site anywhere else. Can't find them anywhere else. They don't exist anywhere else. Yeah, I know, right? So that was a bit interesting, and I've downloaded a whole bunch of stuff on my hard drive just in case. Just in case it won't be there anymore in the morning. But yeah, it was. And the thing is, I just did a search and it just popped up.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, it just popped up. It was quite. This is actually awesome, to be honest with you. This is CIA. What's this one? Right, there's another one here. Oh, MK Ultra as well. There's stuff about MK Ultra, but they don't give you all of it either. So I wonder if there's another process on how to get the complete documents. I wonder.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Not being an American, I don't know if we can we launch a request.
Yeah, I've heard.
Do you think we can? I mean, you and I, Dave.
Well, as long as you are as long as you're one of the allies, right? You should be able to do it. There shouldn't be a reason why you can't. Because if you can access it from abroad, then you should be able to request it.
Yeah. Okay. There's an MK Ultra project here, which has it's just almost unreadable, which is hilarious.
And then the rest of it's redacted.
There's this, but it's approved for release. Here. A precursor of the MK Ultra program began in 1945 when the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency was established and given direct responsibility for Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip was a program to recruit former Nazi scientists. Some of these scientists studied torture and brainwashing, and several had just been identified and prosecuted as war criminals during the Nuremberg trials. Several secret U.S. government projects grew out of Operation Paperclip. These projects included Project Chatter, Project Bluebird, which was later renamed to Project Artichoke.
That's right.
And the purpose was to study mind control, interrogation, behavior modification, and related topics. Etc., etc., etc. No, that's the stuff I can see. Oh, here we go. The agency put millions of dollars into studies probing dozens of methods of influencing and controlling the mind. One 1955 MK Ultra document gives an indication of the size and range of the effort. This document refers to the study of an assortment of mind-altering substances described as follows. Substances which will promote illogical thinking and impulsiveness to the point where the recipient would be discredited in public. Substances which increase the efficiency of mentation and perception, telepathy, and remote viewing. Materials which will prevent or counteract the intoxicating effect of alcohol. And then it goes on, there's another 17 things listed here. Substances which will alter personality structure in such a way that the tendency of the recipient to become dependent upon another person is enhanced.
Wow.
This is serious stuff, my friend.
Yeah,
LSD is mentioned here specifically.
I know, I did a search for that too.
Oh, listen to this. Hypnosis and magic. Declassified MK Ultra documents indicate hypnosis was studied in the early 1950s. Experimental goals included the creation of hypnotically induced anxieties, hypnotically increasing ability to learn and recall complex written matter, studying hypnosis and polygraph examinations, hypnotically increasing ability to observe and recall complex arrangements of physical objects, and studying the relationship of personality to susceptibility to hypnosis. In addition, the CIA used the services of American magician John Mulholland to write 2 manuals on sleight of hand and undercover communication technique. In 1973, virtually all documents related to MKUltra were destroyed. In 1973, virtually all documents related to MKUltra were destroyed.
Yeah.
Mulholland's manuals were thought to be among them until a single surviving copy of each was discovered in the Aegis archives around 2009, etc., etc. Is it not illegal to destroy these documents?
What? Sorry, what? Who?
Who said? Who are you now? Someone talking? This is gold, my brother. This is gold.
And remember, this is only what they've determined for release.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, though, this is released like almost 70 years after.
What,
so
too
all
soon?
the people that would have been involved in this,
yeah,
too soon. They would all be dead. All the decision makers would be dead.
That's right.
And in fact, most of the people that would have been subjected
in the studies
to any of
that's
these,
right. Also,
they would be gone as well, wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
This is actually really good stuff. I'm gonna make a shot of this one.
So Uri Geller,
CIA confession of MKUltra. There's a Washington Post article, August 28, 1982. Now, yeah, but hang on. I was gonna say this. Sorry, this is what it says on top of the document. Everybody, sorry. This is okay. Jack Anderson lawsuit forces CIA confession of MKUltra. That's the article. What it says on top of it. Declassified in part, sanitized copy, approved for release, 2012, August. And this was published in 1982, or not published as the case more likely is. Dave?
Yeah, so when you look for Uri Geller, for instance, the top article is Uri Geller and Science, a New Science Special Investigation, and it says document type Crest, collection Stargate. Can you believe that? And so it's so hard to read it.
It's crazy.
It's going to tell you it's extremely difficult to read it. And and honestly, the font is awful, and it's the kerning is terrible, and the font is too small. Yeah. And it's honestly it's terrible. So yes, you'd have to extract this entirely out of here, and then
and that's what I've been working on as well. So you'll have a readable text. Yeah, all good.
So anyway, there
will be a readable text at some point, and I'm finished.
Oh, okay. So there is a PDF you can click on.
That's crazy.
So you can click on a PDF and see the document.
Yeah.
Because that thing that you look at is actually the word,
which is
the word catalog of the document. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which is just god awful,
isn't it? Yeah, totally. But anyway, look, I knew about his one anyway. There's some really interesting things to find. You mentioned Blue Bean that turned into artichoke. There was another one which was the misinformation project, whatever it was, for the CIA's misinformation division to be established. If you haven't found that one, that's extraordinary. There was also documents on that Detroit gassing of at nighttime. They had pumps and nozzles on tops of a couple of buildings, and they'd sprayed radioactive material into the Detroit downtown to let's just see what happens during radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
Well, I think they got their numbers that they were after.
Yeah.
But isn't that extraordinary? Like,
Yeah, that's nuts. If you think about
so
it.
in Australia, we don't have this level of openness at all. At all. We just don't have it, Becky.
No, we don't. That's the truth. That is the truth. We in fact I don't even know if there is such a thing as freedom of information where you can actually ask for stuff.
There is. You can make requests. It costs you money though, and you can request documents. But we're limited in our knowledge of what we could get because nothing's discussed.
Yeah.
There is nothing. There is nothing. We can't say, oh, I want to find out what's going on at Pine Gap. Right? That'll get me on the list. And you can't ask. You can't ask because that's the jurisdiction within the borders of the operation is actually US soil. So that would be. I'm going to type in Pine Gap and see what happens. See if I get any documents at all. But look, I'm just going to say, yes, good find, Mickey. To be honest, yeah. Oh, America's mysterious space base down under. You're stirring up spooks. That's tremendous. Wow. Anyway, I'm really liking this. I'm gonna
tell you, man.
I'm gonna search there first now forever.
I know, right? I mean, sorry to do that to you, but I think it's a pretty good resource, even for all the redactions.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because what we like to do, Dave and I, we like to go to primary sources as much as we can. Original documents. You might have seen that with all the cuneiform text we get from the Sumerians. We usually publish them in full in our show notes.
Yep.
Now, short of actually translating them ourselves, we like to be as close to primary sources as possible. No good to talk about hearsay. It doesn't help anyone.
That's
and
right.
we found that a lot of the stuff is just not true. It's just internet lore.
Lore.
It's like, it never really happened. Oh, okay, fair enough. Hey, what? Who said that? But yeah, no, it's all goodness though. But it's fascinating. It truly is. I have to say. I mean, there's some great stuff. Some truly great stuff, and now that I know it's there, it just popped up in my search. That's all. It just popped up in my search. It was quite amazing, and I thought, no, this can't be right. Yeah, just because I was looking for telepathy, right? I was just looking for stuff, and then I went there, and I go, oh, this is the Freedom of Information site. Okay, but you know what I also found? Just to your point about Google. Mm-hmm. So I started my search in Google, which was semi-successful, and then I switched to Tor, a Tor browser, which uses DuckDuckGo as a search engine, right? Yeah. And that was just a lot better. I got a lot better sites, a lot better information.
Like the olden days, maybe.
Right? So anybody who's out there searching, Dave is 100% correct. Sorry?
Just like the olden days, when you search for something, you got lots of results.
Yeah, you did. Buckets and things, right? I mean, surely, quite a lot, but these days not so much. But with DuckDuckGo, I used to, what was his name? Jeeves. Ask Jeeves. I actually quite liked that back in the day, and I was actually a kind of a Netscape kind of guy back in those days.
Wow, that takes me back.
But I know, right? But I can tell you that it's absolutely true. You get much better search results outside of Google. Google is just rubbish. It's rubbish. Use some other search engine, everybody. Imagine if the business drops out of Google because of our show. That'd be funny, wouldn't it?
It shouldn't.
I hate those guys.
It shouldn't, because I was paying money to be visible. Isn't that bizarre? So even it's not a sponsored link, but you've got to pay money to actually show up. But it's extortion, to be honest with you.
a lot of things we talk about, though, they do show up weeks, months, or sometimes years later in the mainstream. Sometimes quite fast after we talk about it. They show up fairly speedily, if you will.
And
so
and almost verbatim.
Yeah. So the question is this just a coincidence? Which at this point I probably would say no, but you can't discount it. And secondly, is this proof that people are listening? Are we contributing to the conversation? Is my question, right? And not to no one in particular. I'm just wondering. I'm just talking out loud. Are Dave and I contributing to the conversation? I hope we do, because we do actually put effort into the shows. So it's it's not just us blah blahing. But tell me what else is happening. How was your day? And talk to me about the crazy weather, man. The crazy weather.
Well, the whole northern hemisphere, as we spoke about the other day, is over 40 degrees or there. Not the whole hemisphere, but the northern hemisphere is really suffering. Now, bushfires are rife because you just get the right, the right temps, the right humidity, the right winds, and it's all on. Except there's something really weird. I watched some of the fires where there weren't fires being reported in Canada. This is 6 weeks ago or thereabouts, and then they're on the satellite infrared. As the sun came up, suddenly there was 5 fires all in a line, or close to a line, which weren't there in the previous 5 days. There wasn't rain, and they all immediately started up at the same time. Just like someone zapped them from space. And it was the first example. I'm going to say this. Because I've always said no to directed energy weapons from space when people point out incorrect features of a fire and believe that was because they were directed energy weapons. They also have photographs with a lens flare that goes up into the sky, and that's usually not a directed energy weapon. I don't believe you can see the directed energy weapon. So that makes that go away. And there's a kind of like that CIA misinformation to get people herding over to a new idea, and then you all become discredited. Difference in here is that when I saw the fires all start up pretty much simultaneously to the same extent, I kind of started thinking, well, how could that be possible if there weren't fires there previously, and then they've all popped up at a particular sunrise on a particular day, and it made no sense whatsoever. These fires are the ones that led to, New York air quality problems and etc. etc. When I looked at the radar, the satellite imaging in infrared, I was totally taken aback by this simultaneous combustion of all of these things in spots. So, is it possible? I dare say it is possible to do something like that. I'm not going to say how or why, because that's irrelevant. Is it possible? Well, yeah, it is. So, you could do it if you really didn't. If it was a thing. I don't know, Becky. It disappoints me. It disappoints me that we're at this point in our technology. I know we have weather manipulation, that they can do things with weather now. Usually downbursts of a downburst. I mean not rain, but it's a sudden core collapse of the air column, which comes down to a single point on Earth and spreads our wind outwards in all directions. I know they can do that. I've seen evidence of it. So is this where we're at? I mean, the Russians were talking about earthquake weapons. Remember all the threats at the beginning of the Ukraine conflict?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll hit you with a tsunami weapon. Or an earthquake weapon. okay. Has he totally lost it? I don't think so. I think they've got these crazy weapons. You know, this is from the people.
Well,
this is from the people at the top. This is from Putin himself saying those words.
Yeah, the weapons have been possible, those kinds of weapons at least, since Tesla.
Yeah.
So at least 100 years. There's at least 100 years of the possible existence of these weapons. That's what we know. But does that mean that they being used? Well, honestly, I think yes. I think it's what it means is they are being used. I think they have been built.
Mm-hmm.
They have been developed. Okay, they are operational. I still like to say. And that's just what it is. So, for all intents and purposes, there was a movie in the 90s with Steven Seagal, and it was essentially a movie around. I think it was a mid-air earthquake. So it was a plane that was brought down with a mid-air earthquake.
Oh wow!
Like a Tesla weapon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I told people, that's we can do that. That's a thing now.
Yeah.
Whatever. I said, no, really. That's something that can be done. Hey, whatever. Just shut up. Okay. And of course, I was right. I knew I was right. But that's not the point. But it is definitely worth noting that the movie was made back in the 90s. It was on a train. It's called Under Siege, maybe. It was on a train. I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
One or the other. I can't remember.
I mean, Under Siege sounds
but
familiar.
The plane was destroyed with a mid-air earthquake. Yeah.
Wow.
It doesn't matter. So these, and if you look at some of the stuff that's been happening in the world, right, all around us, then there's a lot of capability out there, which is terrifying. To be frank, it's a terrifying kind of scenario.
So
to think that these weapons exist.
Yeah. So going back to weather, the Australian Bureau of Meteorology, which is our head office of weather, is still kind of pointing at a very dry summer, and they're looking at the northern hemisphere and going and really becoming frightened because this could go south on us real quick. We don't know what else is going to happen, so we might have a very high cyclone season as a result. You only have to have water temperatures around about 30 to 33 degrees, and you're going to start to see the evolution of, the birth of many, many, many cyclones. Or you might call them hurricanes in your neck of the woods. But this is where we're heading. So if we get a really bad fire season, just expect that this is going to continue for a little while longer. So yes, this season, sure. This season in the US, sure. What about next summer? Is it going to get better? Or is it going to stay or maintain itself or get worse? With the amount of carbon that these fires are putting into the air, it would be equivalent to every person in the US having a backyard fire and burning all of their waste material. Instead of having the bin pickup,
that's right.
Collection, like we did in the olden days, Mackie. We burnt all the paper items and things like that. They could be combustible. But also in the olden days, we did capture our carbon and have worm farms and make compost, and we grew a lot of more plants to ourselves. I'm wondering, and I have this conversation a lot, and I know I've mentioned methane a lot. I'm not going to bother going into it, but there are a lot more animals on the planet that were naturally there, and I don't think even with our millions that we consume and have alive for whatever purpose, that we're anywhere near those numbers. You think about, remember the pile of, what was it, the buffalo, bison killings that they did? because they were in fear of them competing against the farmers. Do you remember in America? Yeah. So, I don't know, Mickey. I don't know. I wonder what the methane levels are. Oh, I heard something. This is new. I heard something today that every 36 million years there's a catastrophe on a global scale where there's a flora and fauna change. There's brand new research. This is 1 day old. Brand new research that has pinpointed this, what everyone else could see on the graphs, at least all my life. But now there's a study that has looked into it and gone, yeah, that was kind of real.
And then where are we in that cycle?
We've got apparently 2 million years before the next one. However, it's a bit sketchy. It's, from 20 to 36 million. So we're well in. We're well into it. Oh, it's just an anomaly, right? It doesn't matter. But that is also possibly the another effect. So not all of them were meteors. They can't find a meteor strike for every one of them. But then, there's a possibility of supernovae around us. Gamma ray bursting us.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, all sorts of different things. So, very interesting. Even an SME.
The thing is this, though, Dave.
Yep.
We haven't been around long enough to make any intelligent guesses on this.
No,
it could be that every 20 to 36 million years the Earth just takes a breather, or releases pent-up radiation from its core.
Yeah.
Because they just found another core inside the core.
That's right. Anyway. I saw that article.
Or the sun has got activity. We don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah, we haven't been around long enough to do it. In fact, the length of time that we've been around is equivalent to a single photograph. You still there, Mackie?
Yeah.
Good.
It's a very short time. Well, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay,
good. We seem to have a bad connection. I'm sorry if my audio is not coming through very clearly.
Your audio is coming through just fine.
In fact, even if we are as old as I think we are, we're still not very old. I'm talking about us here as a race, not our essence. That is obviously not at home here at all, or elsewhere. But yeah, it's certainly. I laugh. We come up with all these ideas and theories, and we say this is how it is. This is the world, And my favorite, of course, is the air being sucked out of a train that goes faster than 80 miles an hour, and all these other wonderful things. And the Earth is
in
flat,
fact,
and that's
I think it was 28
wonderful.
miles an hour, not 80.
But I'm sure that's true as well. I think it's gold. I think that's what it is. And and I say, have more power to you. I say, okay, it's all good. I dig it. But we kid ourselves, Dave, into being all pompous and thinking, oh, look at us, we know all these things. Oh, I know stuff. And it's what it is though. It's all about making a living. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand where people come from, and it's all about self-interest, it really is. Nobody really cares. Very few people actually care about doing something new or exciting or finding the truth. God forbid.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares. People want to make a living and be comfortable, and the vast majority of people have zero interest in any of the things Dave and I talk about here. None. I mean, sorry, I should say, let me modify that. Interest as in, oh, that's interesting. And then I get back to my, what do you call it? Shopping, working, sleeping cycle, whatever it was called?
Yeah, it's a shop, work, and home.
Routine that people have. And yeah. Yeah, there you go. That's it. And that's in fact, you know what? You don't even need a prison for most people. They've made their own prison. Okay? Because they're pretty confined. And now what they're doing, which is even more wonderful, a lot of train stations in Sydney and I imagine worldwide that's true as well, a lot of train stations have fairly big apartment complexes on top of them, as well as shopping centers and food outlets and supermarkets. So in theory, you would never have to leave your complex unless you go to work, and if you work nearby, all the better. You would never leave your little square mile radius of anything, and all the rendering that has to happen elsewhere is just not necessary anymore. So you're saving a lot of compute power there. It's all good. Oh, you guys, it's I don't even know what to say anymore.
Totally.
I look at this, the temperatures in Europe, Dave, they're insane.
I know.
Look at those temperatures.
Yeah. I've been tracking this, and there's an IR map of the northern hemisphere, and it is absolutely crazy for a place that doesn't get it normally. I mean, that's the main point here. So why is the atmosphere so thin that it's getting this hot? I mean, it isn't a difference. Hopefully, it's not a difference in the sun's output. That'd be bad.
That would be very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Very bad.
But they won't tell you that anyway, right? There's nothing there. And there's a thing, Meki, there's a thing called an SME. I just want to bring this up. So you have a CME, which is a coronal mass ejection, and you've got an SME, which is the surface mass ejection. Coronal mass is just from a coronal hole, and it has a magnetic field. It's a loop, and if it twists and joins itself, like if you had a rubber band between two fingers and you didn't have it twisted, and you turn your fingers so they twist, the moment they touch both sides, then it springs that loop off at a tremendous rate. So an SME is what is thought to have occurred with Betelgeuse, how it went dark. It went dark on us. It reduced in brightness by heaps, and it looked like it had gone out almost, and then suddenly it slowly got brighter again. There's a thing called an SME where you lose either the entire outer skin at once of the sun, whoever's sun it happens to be, it doesn't have to just be ours, it could be any of them, and that's pretty bad for all of the planets. I mean, pretty bad. So remember there was a prophecy, Meki, I'm going to ask you if you remember, when the sun goes dark. And I could never understand how that would have been possible until I learned about SMEs. SMEs. So that's not a subject matter expert in my field. It is, but it's not what I'm referring to. Can't blame SMEs for that. But an SME from the sun, a surface mass ejection, would definitely make that prophecy work. So what are your thoughts?
Interesting, isn't it? Well, I was actually, when I first learned that the surface of the sun is hotter than its internal regions, things. Well, how's that possible? What? But pressure and heat. What? But then I thought about it, and it made sense, kind of, And so the truth is this: we know very little about the sun. There it is, all day long, shining down on us, giving us skin cancer. But we know very little about it. Like, we had these shows before about water. You think we know everything about water there is to know? Mm-hmm. No idea. We don't know the first thing about water. We have no idea why it is the way it is, or what happens with it. We just don't know. Right? It's the simple things where we think, everything has been solved, and we don't have to worry about it. And I find this with most things that you just take for granted in your life, and everyday things, right? The mixture of the air that we breathe, for example, right? Or how does our body control the oxidizing effects of oxygen to the point it doesn't kill us outright, for example? Because the first, to your point, Dave, earlier, the very first extinction level event was caused by oxygen.
Yes.
The very first creatures that lived on this planet were not oxygen breathers. In fact, oxygen to them was pure poison. Mm-hmm. It's like pouring acid on those poor buggers. Mm-hmm. Okay? That was the first extinction level event. So there's all these, the sun, look, I didn't know this, the SME part, right? Am I surprised? Well, yeah, a little. But I go, wow, this is really interesting stuff. And then I remember seeing photographs. Now I don't know if they were hoaxed or not, but I see photographs of objects that seem to draw energy from the sun in recent times. I don't know if you've seen those pictures. I don't know if they're true or not, but I've seen the pictures, right? And other photographs where things seem to go into the sun, in fact, right? But what do we know about the sun? Well, not a lot is the answer here. We don't know much about the surface of the ocean. Sorry, the bottom of the ocean, I should say. Mm-hmm. We know more about the surface of the moon. So there are a lot of things. Oh, thanks, buddy. That's this one. Yeah, and that's right. I knew about this. In fact, there is a signal that's coming to us, which makes no sense unless it's an artificial signal. Okay, and this is not the great dimming here of Betelgeuse, but there's something similar in the I think it's the X-ray spectrum, where we seem to be getting messages and radio signals. I don't know. What's this?
So the thing I sent you is the confirmation that actual science, not remember how at the top of the show we spoke about getting to the core of the story, the original source, and this is science. This is actual science, where it's a hard read, but that's what scientific papers are all about, and they're saying that Betelgeuse had a surface mass ejection, and if you notice when there is a supernovae anywhere, then you end up having a blast within what looks like there was already a blast zone. So there'll be a number of, let's call it burps or coughs from a star before it blows. And that's one of those things that that Betelgeuse seems to have already done. And so there is a number of them. Sometimes if the star is moving or it's... when I mean moving, I mean it may not have a solar system that it's connected with. Maybe it was flung out of a twin configuration, and it's left to travel the universe on its own. And when they pop, sometimes there's a couple of them, and it appears as though there's like a figure eight or two eye shapes over each other. On different angles because it's moving, right? Anyway, so look, it's quite possible, Meki, because I've been doing a lot of biblical prophecy stories. I'm trying to align something, trying to find things, and I'm not specifically religious. I'm not typically religious. I'm not anything religious. I think some of these are very good stories of what we're to observe. So if anyone in the past that had knowledge of that we have today, that went to any planet at all and just said, your star thing, it can go dark and it's kind of really bad for you, right? That would turn into to be a prophecy. They'd be waiting for it, looking at it and hoping that it didn't do it, but it is possible that it can do it. It could destroy the ozone layer with the energy in an SME. And therefore, the moment...
That would be very bad.
That would be very bad. And the moment the sun comes back to full brightness again, as this wave of material leaves the sun, then we'd all get toasted. And it made me think about that underground city in Turkey. They're going to have thousands underground. It's like an ant's nest for humans.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if one of the... maybe it happened before. And maybe that was their solution, was to live underground.
Like I said before, and we discussed this many, many times, I believe us on the surface are the third world, or the fourth world for that matter.
Yeah.
As far as the planet is concerned, we're not the pinnacle of creation. We're not the top of a food chain. We're not even particularly advanced. And I believe that the true civilizations, or maybe one, I don't know, maybe it's many, I don't know, but the true civilization on this planet is underground and under the ocean, or on the ocean bed, but definitely underground, because that's where it's all going. The portals seem to be in the air.
Yeah,
that
that's true.
Has been established now. Okay, the portals seem
Yep.
to be in the air, or the majority of them. Some of them, I think, might be in mountainsides as well. I think they're everywhere. I think this is like a Swiss cheese of the interdimensional portals that we have on this planet. We just can't access them because we can't perceive them. We don't understand what to look at. There's a really interesting story, The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul, by Douglas Adams. Now, he also wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul has as its protagonist a detective, a different kind of a detective. But the point here is he needs to access another dimension, the God dimension, where the Thor and Odin or whatever live, right? Mm-hmm. And the way he does that, or the way it's accessed, and you have to walk this way, and then ever so slightly just turn this way and then not. So there's a very the way he described it was just beautiful.
Wow.
I'll have to for the next show to read out to you guys.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
The way he described it was just beautiful in that, you can't just access it. It's like when you have to look at those. I talk about it a lot, I know, but these pictures
magic
that make no sense when you look at them, and then when you relax your eye, all of a sudden you see something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and now the same thing. Maybe if we just could, and Mimsy go to Borogroves. I don't know if you're familiar with the Jabberwock, but there's a story that was turned into a movie as well, believe it or not, where the kids follow the instructions in that nonsense poem, right, and manage to travel interdimensionally.
Wow.
So to us it makes no sense, but to the kids, in fact, the movie is called Mimsy Go the Borogroves, which is a line of the nonsense poem of Alice in Wonderland, right? It's really interesting. It's just looking at the world differently and just moving slightly differently. And again, in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I thought it was wonderful. Flying is just falling down and missing the ground.
That's right.
That's what flying is. Right? So if we could look at it that way, but of course, it's hard.
So Meki, when I used to make Quake levels, and one of those, very interestingly, had a whole bunch of secrets in it. So the equivalent of a 2D, always going right, 80s video game where it was jump, left, duck, blah, whatever, right? There's a secret. So I would have a secret. If you ran along a wall, leaning in the wall at a certain point, fired your gun at the ground, it opened a portal and you fell into the wall. Right? That was one of them. The other one was if you ran a certain path on the ground and shot your pistol at the ground, it opened up zip, and like a little door, and you fell into it. And zip, and the person chasing you just, where'd they go? And you could stand there all you like. It didn't activate the door. You had to shoot at it. But from inside the room that you appeared in, the walls were invisible to you, and you could see everybody and shoot through them. But they couldn't see you. It was amazing. Think about, Meki, where that portal is above the ranch, right? We know that the ground level itself raises and lowers over millions of years, over eons. There's flooding events that brings the soil up, right? And it comes back down, it wears away, rain, weathering. Yes. So that portal may very well have either been underground or at ground level, and there might have been a structure there at some point. But it's long gone. And how many millions of years ago? Don't know, right?
Take it further. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But take it further. Now, you said you're correct. It may have been, but now from the builders of the portal's point of view, especially if you have a flying machine and it's plugged into the quantum form or 0-point energy, it doesn't really matter. But the point is this: it makes a lot more sense for portals. I can't believe I haven't thought of this before. But it makes a lot more sense for portals to be in the air rather than on the ground or on ground level or anything like that. Because, like you just said, there could be flooding, there could be earthquakes, the ground shifts, there could be a building there, right? The building that it's in could be demolished. We don't know, right? Now, the portal might be itself stationary. And maybe that's what happened in the portals in the mountainsides. Maybe the mountains rose or fell or whatever, or shifted. Now, the portal is still there wherever it was, right? Maybe because it's gravitationally anchored to a 0 point. I don't know, right? But the where we thought we could access it through the little door in the rock, that's no longer the access. It's now 10 meters below, for example. Because the mountain moved.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Lagrange point. You got 5 Lagrange points between the Earth and the Moon, which means you put something there, it doesn't move because the gravity holds it there for both the Earth and the Moon. And maybe I'm just speculating. This is just speculation, right? That's all it is. Nothing proven here. But man, I'm telling you, this is the stuff we should be spending our time on, Dave.
Yeah,
That's
totally. It makes me question. It makes me question and refer back to again the stories of the Watchers. Does it not? Does that do it to you? Does it force that upon you? Because that's kind of the way I connect everything together. Just like that Star Trek episode where the people were in that rocky outcrop with it had, you know what I mean? It had a force field on it, and it just looked like the rocks. Yeah. And when I heard, Mekhi, about S4 down at Area 51 or around the corner from Area 51, S4, it had car tracks that go up to the mountain, and there's nothing there. It's just mountainside. Maybe it isn't.
So that happens a lot. So I've been binging on documentaries, film especially. They see these things. They run into the snow. There are tracks in the snow. Right? And it could be Bigfoot, could be some other cryptoid. Doesn't really matter. But there are tracks in the snow, and then they're not. So something made these tracks, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, but something made tracks. There they are, and then they stop.
Mm-hmm.
They stop. There should be more tracks, unless this thing vanished or jumped into the air and flew away or whatever. There should be more tracks.
Yeah.
So to your point, absolutely, 100%. This happens all the time. This is not new, and it brings to mind again 411 and stuff appears in places where we've looked here. Here it is. We've looked at this spot right there. Why didn't we see this?
Yeah, like 100. There's only 2 minutes left. 100 people walking along looking for a lost child in locked step next to each other, don't see anything, and then a long time, days later can be, and then suddenly a child just appears where they've already looked. And they just appeared there.
And sometimes more than once.
And just as astonished as their disappearance was their reappearance, even to the child, who doesn't kind of remember it.
Yes. Think about that. So all of these and every native culture has a legend of portals. You know what's really interesting? You know what one of the oldest symbols is that we have?
Spiral.
Spiral.
Mm.
Exactly. And not just a spiral, but also like a labyrinthine kind of thing as well, which is sort of spiral form as well. So like a labyrinth. And for Native Americans, that symbolizes a portal. Now, for some of the other cultures, we just don't know. There's no one left to tell us what it means, right?
Yeah.
But what if it was a fairly accurate representation of a portal? Maybe a portal that is governed by the Fibonacci sequence in some way, where you reach
less than a minute.
Certain places at certain parts of the portal. You can exit, enter, whatever you want, but it has to be in line with the numbers of the Fibonacci sequence. I'm just putting that out there, right? Oh man, yeah. Look, we hope you enjoyed this completely free-form stream of consciousness between Dave and I.
Yeah.
Again, we don't make up stuff. We just speculate. And if you haven't been there, please go check out the Freedom of Information site for the CIA. I'm sure they'd love to have you. This has been Platos Caves. Thank you so much for allowing us into your home. Don't go anywhere. There will be stuff there. And most of all, be safe.